Hi, so in this video, we're going to talk about more in depth how to add different types of resources into the references list. And we're going to do this from scratch so that way you understand exactly what all the different elements are and how they go together. So what I've done is I opened the book until I get to the title page. And from the title page, this is where I'm going to get all of the different elements. I first need to get the author. And here's my author. This particular book only has one author and is not an edited book. That means that there's not one person who is getting collections or different essays or different chapters from many other different authors and putting them together. If this was an edited book with one editor and a lot of different authors, it would say something in here, editor or edited by. This case, we don't have it. So there's just slightly different changes that you need to do when it comes to doing your citations if this particular book, instead of having a single author, if it had two authors or if it was an editor instead of an author. So this is going to be the easiest way to cite your sources, right? So that's why we're starting with this one first. So here I have my author. The next thing I need to identify is the year on which this particular book was published, but it's not here on this page. I would have to flip the page. Okay, so I've already flipped the page. So this is called the verso, but you don't need to worry about what that is. So what we need to do is identify the year of publication, and it's right here. You would see it because you're looking for something that says copyright. And it is going to give you a year. Many times different books will have different copyright years. So what you want to do is just get the most recent year. In this particular case, it's just 1 year, which is 1997. So this is the second element in APA style. If we were doing MLA, it would be a different order. So now I go back to the first page. Okay, so then the next element that I need to identify is the title. So here's element number 3, right here. Here's the title. And I notice that many times it will have a main title and then it'll have a subtitle. So here's the subtitle for this particular book. The next thing that I need to identify is the publisher. So this particular one was published by this company, W.W. Norton, in New York and in London. So now that I've identified those pieces of information, now I am ready to start putting my citation together. Okay, so before I start putting everything together, I'm going to go back to the library's homepage and click on citation. From here, I'm going to go to APA 7th edition, and I'm going to review the rules for citation, and then I'm going to look at an example, and I can follow this particular example so that I can know exactly how to do it. This gives me the rules are a key and the example. So what I want to focus on is on the print book. And below it, when I'm ready to do an ebook, I can follow the example for the ebook or for the journals or for another journal article or an online magazine or online newspaper or how to do a website. But let's go back and let's just do the first one, the print book. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I noticed that for a print book, I would need first the author's name, which we've already identified, then the year of publication, and it goes in parentheses, and then the title of the book. And I noticed that the title of the book is in italics because that is the rule in APA in both 6th and 7th edition. And notice here how the capitalization is done. Here they are not capitalizing every single word like you would do in MLA. This one they're using what they call the sentence capitalization, in which they only capitalize just the first word in the title or any names, places, companies, personal pronouns. Then the company, and that is it. In the 6th edition, then you would have to add additional stuff that you don't have to do in the 7th edition. So let's just take a quick look at that one. I'm going to click on APA 6th edition, scrolling down, and books with one author. In the 6th edition, you also had to include the city of publication and the state, but not in the 7th edition. But other than that, other than the location, not having to do that in the 7th edition, everything else is the same when it comes to doing physical books according to APA style. So just to sum up, in the 6th edition, you do have to put in the city and place where this book was published in. That's in the 6th edition. But in the 7th edition, I'm going to scroll down again, and you do not. It's just the name, year of publication, title of the book, and the company that published it. Okay, so right from the library's page, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to just leave this guide here so that I could use it to help me write the annotation. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. Scroll down. Now I'm going to open up my paper. Okay. So I have in the background the library's webpage with the guide on how to do it. I'm going to scroll this up because I don't need the ebook version. And now I'm opening up here. I'm going to pretend that this is my essay that I'm working on. So I have my Word document over here, or it could be your Google Docs. And on this side, I have screenshots of my book so that I could have it handy just to show you in this video, make it easier for us. So what I need to do is put it in alphabetical order. So based on this, I need to add in the author's last name. It's Diamond. So I need to put it in its order. So what I could do is I could just stop typing it up here, and then I could go into the word tools and sort them later, or I might as well just go in directly and try to find where it needs to go. So I'm going to press enter. There you go. I'm going to start right there. Now I'm going to type in Diamond, comma, space. So here I capitalized the last name, just the first letter in the last name. Now I'm going to put in his first name initial. In APA style, you do not write Jared. You would do this in MLA, but not APA. In APA, you only use the initial because they want to be gender neutral. So there you go. There's the initial, period, space. And now see, if my author had, his first name, middle name, and then the last name, then I would put in there if he's Jared James dot space. If he had two initials, I would do that. If his first name is Jared dash James, sometimes either given names or first names have a hyphen in it. So then the way that I would do that, if his name was like Jared James with a dash, then I would do J dot dash J dot. So this first initial is for Jared James because his name is Jared James, if it was that way. Now, since it's not, it's just Jared. That's all you need to do in this particular case. But I just wanted to share some additional information as far as how to format the names if the first name or the given name has a dash in it, or if they had, first name, middle name, and then the last name. Let's just pretend, right, that he has a dash to his last name. So if he was Diamond Smith, but right now this is not in here, just it would be Diamond Smith if he hyphens his name. And some female or women authors, they might also have they hyphenate their last names, so you would do their last names this way. But in this case, let's just get rid of that. And now it is correct. Now I'm going to put one single space. Now the next element is the year of publication. So I'm going to put it inside parentheses because that's the rule, 1997. Then I'm going to put in a period, space. So then I have the author, the year of publication. Now I have to put in the title. So the title is Guns. I'm going to remember that it's not, I'm not going to do title capitalization, but I'm going to use center capitalization when I'm doing this particular book title, Germs and Steel. This has the title here, but it also has a subtitle. So what I'm going to do is do the colon, which is the two dots. I'm going to start now my subtitle. I'm going to start off my subtitle by capitalizing the first letter in the first word, but everything else, Fates of Human Societies. Then I'm going to put in a period. I'm still not done with it yet. I need to highlight it. Then I need to put it in italics. And I just did that right now. I just used the Control-I to make it into italics, or I could have used the tools. So now I'm going to put in space. And then now that I have the title, I now need to put in the press. So this particular one is W. Norton. Space here. And then a period. If this book had a DOI, I would go ahead and add the DOI in it. This particular book doesn't have one, so that is it for this particular citation. Okay, so now that I have finished with my entry in my references list for this book, the next thing is I need to be sure that I use the proper in-text citation. So that means if I'm going to grab something from this book, a fact, an idea, and I'm going to either paraphrase it, put it in my own words, or I am going to quote it directly. So what I need to do is find the proper spot within my essay, and that really depends on how I've organized my essay and my outline, so that way this content that I'm about to add into my essay flows well into my my other text or with my other text, and that it fits in and it helps support that particular thing that I'm addressing in the paragraph. So this is just for illustration purposes. This is not a how to write or technical writing or any of that stuff. It's just how you would put in the citation from this source. So I'm going to locate a spot in my essay, and I want to put it right here, and I can start my citation. So again, I no longer need this because I have the information that I need. So I am going to close out of this, and I'm going to go into the page where I have the information that I want. But I'm also going to look at the guide on how to actually do the in-text. How am I going to actually add an idea from this book into my essay? So I am going to put this aside. My essay aside, I'm going to go back to the library's page where I had the information on how to do the references for the book. I'm going to scroll all the way up. I'm going to make it big. And now in the APA 7th edition tab, I have certain rules on how to do it. But this is mostly for the references list. What I want to do is go into the tab that says in-text citation. So I'm going to click on that. Then I see some links. So we have the link for the 6th edition, but that's not what I want. So I'm going to scroll down, style guides. Now I'm going to click on the APA 7th edition. So now I've been taken to Purdue OWL, which is one of the great places to get citation information. And I'm going to make sure that because I'm using 7th edition, this is the 7th edition. So what I'm specifically looking for is in text. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to look on the left side until I find what I need. APA 7th edition, click on APA formatting and style guide. And here we go, in-text citation, basic information, and the authors. So let's just start off with the basics. So from here, I would review this information about how I need to do it. So I'm going to take a short quotation or something short. So that means that if I'm taking a short quotation, that means that I'm only going to take maybe one sentence long, maybe 40 words, less than 40 words. That's what's considered a short quotation, something small. And then if I'm doing a quotation in APA style, I'm going to also need the page number, only if I'm taking directly word for word from the source. A long quotation is if I am borrowing 40 words from my source or more, that's considered a long quotation, and you format it a little differently. So this gives me information on an example on how I need to do that. And then a short paraphrase. So now I know. So here, if I'm going to either put it in my own words, I do not have to put in a page number. Here's the example of how to do one, if the very top one, if it's just my own words that I am using to restate an idea from the book. And notice here, I just start off with my signal phrase or my signal word. And then here's the last name of my author, and then the year of publication for that particular source. And then here is where I would put in my paraphrase. So I'm going to go back into my essay. I'm going to leave this one side by side so that way I can always refer to it later. Find the location that I need. And I'm going to follow either this example if I'm using it in my own words. Notice I don't have to put a page number down. Or I could scroll up if I want to do the a quote right here. So I'm back to the summary or paraphrase. Notice that in this example, they do include a page number, even though this is a paraphrase for those two examples, which is basically the same paraphrase right here. The major difference is in this first example, they're calling out the name of the author within the sentence, but they still have to put in the year. No page here. The second example, it does not list the author's last name within the sentence, but it does make a reference to it inside the parentheses. And notice the parentheses covers the last name of the author, comma, and then the year of publication, comma. And if it's a longer work, like a big book, you could add the page number because that would help your reader find where this idea came from. But that's optional. Or you could also check with your professor to see. And notice that the period ends right after the parentheses. So you don't put the period right up here. You put it at the end of the parentheses. So I'm going to get going. So then I am back on my essay. I found the place where my idea fits in. So I could do the same thing. So I could go back in and say, according to Diamond. I need to add in the year. And I need to go back to the title page in case I forgot. And it's 1997. Put a comma, space. And then the idea that I'm trying to get from here. So I would say, whatever paraphrase I'm doing, with the idea, then put a period, and that's it. So let me make it actually make sense. So the idea that I want to use is coming out of this page. So here I have added my paraphrase. So I have according to, so here's my signal phrase, according to, and then Diamond, here's my author. Then I'm putting in the year in which this book was published, and then here's my paraphrase. And here's my paraphrase of something from the book. And here's a screenshot of, a picture of the book. since this is a really, really long book, I could add in there the page number in order to make it easier for my audience to see it. And over the P, and the page number is 257, and then that's it. Or I don't have to, this is just an option. I don't have to put the page number because it's a paraphrase. Now, if I was actually, instead of using my own words, here are my own words, to restate something that I have here highlighted in my book, again, this is my personal book, that's why I was able to highlight it. If I was actually using their own words, I'm going to just add another sentence in which I'm going to do that. Here. And then I would say, I could still leave it the same way as this if I was doing something else. But I wouldn't have this and then the same quote from that separate section. So just to illustrate, I would say, according to Diamond, so here I've added my signal phrase, call to the author, the year in which his publication was published. I have my own words here to introduce the direct quote, and then here inside I have a quotation, beginning my quotation, and here's word for word words from this text. Then I close the quotation, I put a space, and then in parentheses I put the page number. So then these two are basically the same thing. Here's the one, but it's just word for word from the source, and the one above it is just a paraphrase to basically the same content that's in the, highlighted in yellow. So that from here, then I would add my own additional thoughts to make my essay flow, my own contribution to what is being presented in the book, and just make the essay flow. So remember, this is just an example of how you would do it if you were doing it in a big research project. For me, you're not doing this. All you're doing is just maybe just writing in one sentence from your each three sources into your mini research self-reflection essay. So you might be able to take some of this to put it into our own project, but this is also to help you for future projects so that you know how to do that. Now, there is another way of doing this. Instead of doing this part here, is where you would just say, just your sentence. So, societies, I could take some of this. Okay, so here I've changed it up again, and I started here like, so typed in societies. These are my own words. And then here is my quote. So notice in this time when I have my sentence, I'm not actually calling out according to or as so-and-so states. I'm not mentioning the author here, but I'm going to still mention the author at the end of the sentence. So I type up my own words, the quote that I'm borrowing that I'm borrowing from my source here. Then in parentheses, I'm going to say Diamond, comma, space, then 1997, comma, space, P dot 257, close my parentheses, and a period, and that's it. So then they're just different ways of doing it. The idea normally is the very first time that you are using a particular source in your essay for you to mention his name within the essay and say, you know, according to Diamond, etc. And then from then on, every time you cite from him, then you could just do it this way, because then that will make it flow better. But that, you know, really depends on the professor, the assignment, etc. So I'm just showing you different ways that you could use the in-text citation. So right here, you know, these are my own words up here. Then I'm incorporating another thought from one of my sources, and I am giving credit to my author or my source right in here. So this is what they call in-text citation. in which I am telling my reader or my audience that this is the source where this idea is coming from. And every time I borrow an idea from another source, I need to do the in-text citation within my essay or my presentation or my speech. And every time I have something like this, I need to have the matching corresponding citation in the references list. And you're just going to do the same thing for all of your different sources. And depending on the type of source that you have, you may just need to add additional pieces of information into the references. So then after you do any kind of editing, always double check that you didn't miss anything, there's no extra spacing, that everything is correct. So here I noticed that I have an extra space when I was playing around with my text, and I added additional in-text citations. So you just need to go ahead and clean that up and run a backspace. There we go, because everything just has to be double space, no extra spaces here. So then now that is correct. Just make sure that every idea that you have from another source is cited properly and that there's a corresponding citation. Double check, make sure everything is correct and no extra spaces anywhere. Proofread your work, and then you save it, and then you share it. That is the end for this particular video. I'm going to create another video that just shows you examples depending on different source types, whether it's a journal article or a website, things with DOI, not DOI. And we're going to go step by step how to do the reference citation here for this list, and how to do also the in-text citation. So see you soon.